This podcast is hosted by Buzzsprout. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners. The team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message to the world. If you want an upgrade, Buzzsprout has tons of guides to help you find exactly what you need. We use Buzzsprout and it's a game changer for us. An all new analytics system helps us track who's listening to our show and where they're listening to it. If you'd like to use Buzzsprout as well, follow the link in our show notes to buzzsprout.com. And while you're there, let them know that Films and Fermentation sent you.
Hey there, curiosity connoisseurs! Are you intrigued by all things strange, weird, and unusual, but too embarrassed to talk with your friends and family about it?
Well, we're your family now.
Join me, chronically curious Katie,
And me, combat veteran Chris, as we don our tinfoil hats and question everything.
from crazy mysteries, out-of-this-world conspiracies, and the unbelievable happenings all around us.
Let's try to stay sane as we laugh and explore together through our podcast, Stop Thinking with Your Butt.
Wherever you like to listen.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 107 of Films and Fermentation. That's right. We are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. On this episode 107, we're taking a look at the Netflix documentary series, The Movies That Made Us. It's been a long time coming. There's 3 seasons of this documentary series so far, so we got a few movies to talk about here. We're going to discuss the films, some of the behind-the-scenes info that we learned watching these documentaries, and we're going to be asking ourselves, truly, are these films that made us? We're also going to be speculating on a possible 4th season of the show and what movies we think they should include. Don't forget to drop us an email, filmsandfermentation@gmail.com, or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Don't forget to like, subscribe, download, give us that good old 5-star review if you can, so we can get the show out there to more people. You can visit us at teespring.com to buy our merch or support the show at patreon.com.
Tell
Gentlemen,
your friends about us.
Tell your friends about us.
Yeah. If you're on Good Pods, you can actually share our shows on Facebook or Twitter.
You can do that with any podcast platform. You can share it with us on Facebook and Twitter. Let people know about it. Yes, merchandising.
I wonder if Netflix has now this viewing party or a watching party, right? Or Prime has it. Can't you do that with podcast? Do a listening party?
Podcast party.
Podcast party.
Podcast party.
Pod party.
Isn't it called Podcasting Live? A live show?
Except everybody has to listen to the podcast at the same time on their own devices, so we pick up as much audience chatter as we can.
Yeah.
What are we drinking this evening, gentlemen?
Well, gentlemen, I'm starting off with the Sap House from West Kill Brewing Company. My good friend Kevin got me this beer.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I'm going to go to another Kevin beer from Upward Brewing Company, Catskills Mountains, the Oatmeal Stout.
I had the Sap House one. That's pretty good. I haven't had the Oatmeal Stout one yet.
Well, it's going for 5.8 to 9.
Big steps.
Big steps. Kev, what you got going on?
So I was thinking about it, and I do remember in my youth, my family taking day trips down to Cape May, New Jersey to chill, check out the beach, go along is it a promenade? I guess it is a promenade, isn't it? That center area.
Yeah, the little inlet area.
Dropping my sister off at Holiday House for her church organization.
Where she used to hang out with my wife.
Where she used to hang out with your wife, and they do serving duties when they got older. They were called lemon heads because when they went to the beach, they had to wear yellow hair caps, and that's how they could tell where their kids were in the beach in the water. But so thinking about my youth, and the movies that made us, I decided to pick up a summer variety pack from Cape May. So I'm starting off with the Longliner Lager, which is a crisp, snappy, balanced lager, 5% alcohol by volume. I will be then traveling to the Always Ready, which is a hazy pale ale at 4.8% alcohol by volume. Intensely aromatic and crushable. And then I will finish a little bit lower with a citrus shandy called the Grove, which is 4.5% alcohol by volume. I've had these before. This is probably my favorite. The Grove reminds me of like the Leininkugel's lemon shandy, but this has more lime and orange and stuff. So
nice. Sounds good.
So Kevin's on his way to Cape May.
On the way to Cape
May. I fell in love with you. So I kind of went in a similar vein, like decided since it's movies that made us, I'd go with beer that made me. You can take that any way you want. It could be, the reason I'm overweight now or just the reason that I like this kind of beer. But the beer that made me first start enjoying crafts, and it's the original craft beer, in my opinion, the Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
Ooh.
Because it was the Sam Adams Oktoberfest that made me want to start drinking more crafts.
Is it the autumnal weather that's got you going back?
I don't know. It's the fact that I still had some in my fridge and they're not skunked. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's have some. It's 5.3% alcohol by volume and makes an excellent beer bread base.
Not as good as the Irish Stout, though.
Oh, that Irish Stout bread was fucking awesome.
That was great.
All right. Mike, we got a lot of shit happening again this week. This is not just a week in film history, but a week where history is being made. So let's get started.
This week in film history, legendary Hall of Fame running back of the Cleveland Browns, then turned actor Jim Brown, passed away this week. He was 87 years old.
Jim Brown played 6 years in the NFL, but was good enough to still be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Considered one of the best running backs who ever played the game.
I knew that I would. Oh, wait. Wrong Jim Brown. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wrong Brown. Yeah.
Wrong Brown. That's James Brown. Yeah. Jim Brown then became an actor and was acted in one of my all-time favorite films, The Dirty Dozen. 87 years old. I'll take the second one. Actor Ray Stevenson, best known for the HBO series Rome, as well as playing Frank Castle in Punisher Warzone, also playing one of the Warriors 3 in Thor and Thor the Dark World, currently appearing in the Disney Plus show Ahsoka, passed away this week suddenly at age 58 years old. Cause of death is right now unknown, but they said that while he was making he was in Italy recently filming something, and it said that his health did not seem to look too good while he was filming the movie. So it's not released yet how he passed away, but it's kind of shocking. He's only 58 years old. And I'll tell you what, I used to watch Rome when that was on HBO back in the day, and it was an amazing show.
Yeah.
And he was awesome in it. And I got really excited when I saw him in the Ahsoka trailer. He was the guy with the orange lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, cool, Ray Stevenson. And, know, and then all of a sudden.
Rome wasn't just filmed in a day.
No, it wasn't.
No, it took a while.
It was filmed over 2 seasons, and then HBO ran out of money, and so they had to cut it short. So, Kev, why don't you take letter C there?
Sure. Queen of rock and roll Tina Turner has died at the age of 83 after suffering a long illness, her publicist said in a statement to NBC News. Her death comes after she suffered numerous illnesses in recent years, including intestinal cancer, stroke, and kidney failure. Tina Turner had also starred in such roles as Auntie Entity in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. She had a special guest appearance in Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, released in 1978. She was the Acid Queen in Tommy in 1975 and appeared as the mayor in a Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, Last Action Hero.
I know her, as far as acting goes, I know her best from the Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome movie.
Yep.
And then also a very good biopic about her life starring Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne as Tina and Ike Turner, very called "What's Love Got to Do with This?" Yeah, that was amazing. I that one was shocking because when I saw that, I thought she had already passed away a couple of years ago because I knew she'd been. Because I knew she'd been really sick. She had cancer and everything,
right.
so I wasn't aware that she was still, hanging around. But yeah, so it's weird. They always say it happens in threes, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Let's go ahead to some more news that's a little happier. Give me a happier one there, Mike.
On a happier note, the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian actress Ming-Na Wen will be getting her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on May 30th, pending Asian American and Pacific Islanders Month.
Yeah, Ming-Na Wen, man. I love Ming-Na Wen. I gotta think for Ming-Na.
Oh, I loved her when she was in,
Agents of Shield.
Shield.
Yeah.
She was the voice of Mulan, the cartoon
when she was
Mulan.
on ER.
She was on ER. She was in the Joy Luck Club.
Mm-hmm.
She's been acting for a long time. She is going to be 60 years old this year.
Doesn't look a day over 30.
Yeah, doesn't look, yeah. She's got to be one of those Hollywood vampires because she does not age. I guess I'll do the next one then. 1932, Goofy, also known as Dippy Dog, first appears in Mickey's Review by Walt Disney.
Dippy Dog.
Dippy Dog was his original name, yes.
That's his original name, yep.
Dippy Dog.
Boy, did he trade up.
Yeah, he traded up, and we got our first instance of...
Gosh.
Kevin, I'll just take letter F there,
sure.
please.
In 1969, Midnight Cowboy, directed by John Schlesinger, I think I got that right, and starring John Voight and Dustin Hoffman, is released, won the Academy for Best Motion Picture in 1970. I believe this was also the "Hey, I'm walking here,"
which is an ad-libbed scene because the cab driver was a real cab driver who didn't realize that the street was shut down for production and drove right through it and almost ran over Dustin Hoffman. So when Dustin Hoffman yells at him, "I'm walking here," he was doing it in character so that they were able to keep the scene in the film. Also has the distinction of being the only X-rated movie to win Best Picture.
Oh, wow.
Because at the time, the MPAA ratings didn't have a distinction between like PG and R. So it was like basically PG and X.
Well, what do you expect from a director named Schlesinger?
Schlesinger.
I
like Midnight Cowboy is a good movie. So, Mike, why don't you take that last one there then?
On this day in 1984, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom reached #1 in the box office, making $179 million worldwide.
Again,
no time for love, Dr. Jones.
Temple of Doom is not. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's one of my favorite films. I actually really enjoyed it.
It was the least popular, at least until Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls came out.
Yeah, compared to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I never had a problem with Temple of Doom. I like Temple of Doom. I like that they brought in, Eastern religion as opposed to sticking with just
even though it was portrayed as a stereotypical Eastern religion.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
It also gave us Short Round.
And I am looking forward to The Dial of Destiny. This looks like it could be a redeeming movie for for Indiana Jones.
All things that I'm hearing about it sounds like it might be.
Yeah.
And I think they're hoping for it too, because as I said last week, they're hoping that Phoebe Waller-Bridge will kind of take over the franchise, and they can continue it with her as the main character.
Nice crotch shot there,
Nice
Michael.
crotch shot. Wow, Mike, we're not that kind of show, dude.
I forgot to pick something up.
Speaking of Midnight Cowboy, and them sexy North
He's
Carolina
happy
ladies.
he's decided to wear shorts today. Typically, he likes to be relaxed in his boxers.
Sorry, I forgot to
Sexy
pull
North
the,
Free
the beer.
falling. Sexy North Carolina thighs there.
Didn't tell you. Yeah, I forgot to pull the beer paper out.
I was going to say before Mike gave us a show, $179 million, 1984. Today is actually $524 million and change.
Nice.
So it's definitely one of the biggest movies of all time.
Watching in glory.
So what do you got for us here, Mike?
We got beer holiday.
Beer holiday.
Well, that's
Every
what they
day
call
is a
it.
beer
but
holiday.
It's
Hi,
actually
Megan.
They said, hi,
Megan!
Megan.
Hey, Megan.
It's actually National Wine Day.
Mm.
Aww.
Aw.
But the calendar would like to tell you why beer is better than wine.
Okay.
One, foam. Our foam sticks around. Sparkling wine foam falls flat. 2, mood. Beer makes you happy. Wine makes you moody. 3, variety. Wine is broken down into only a few basic types: red, white, sparkling. There are nearly endless varieties of beer styles, and creative breweries are forming new ones every day. Sorry, wine drinkers, beer is just better.
That being said, I have gotten drunk more with wine on this show than I have with beer. So
True. That means you can drink more beer without getting drunk.
strong ass ports. So it's time. It's that time again. Synopsis according to Glip. Synopsis according to Glip. Brought to you by Newsly, all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android that will read the news to you in a natural human voice. Stop scrolling. Start listening. Newsly.me. Use the promo code ANDFERMENT and get the first month premium subscription for free. So, according to Glip, last week on our recasting of the Lost Boys episode, the participants talked about Burlington adoption plates, final Twitter votes, picks for Grandpa, benefits of Buzzsprout, the cast of Indiana Jones, and the history of cream ale.
Adoption plates?
I don't
I
know.
know we talked about the dog, me adopting the dog from
That was
Burlington.
the Burlington adoption place.
Yeah.
Place.
Final Twitter votes.
Front of it quote was the Lost Boys vote. Picks for Grandpa was one of the things we talked about.
Mhm.
Benefits of Buzzsprout was the promo I do. Cast of Indiana Jones, because I think we talked about the Dial of Destiny a little bit last week as well. And history of cream ale. I'm guessing that's your beer trivia thing from last week.
Might have been.
Might have been, but I do kind of like that. You know, there's a whole new Indiana Jones movie there. It's the Indiana Jones and the History of Cream Ale.
Yeah, Indiana Jones and the history of cream. That's what it looks like it says there. Indiana Jones and the history of cream ale.
Yes.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of the AARP. So I got a film recommendation. I watched the movie the other night. That was really, really good. It was a little indie film. It was obvious from the way it was filmed that it was not a high budget film. But it came out in 2022, and I heard about it on another show, and I was like, that sounds really interesting. I'm going to check it out. It's called The Artifice Girl. And it's a sci-fi movie that takes place in basically like one room the entire film. And has a very small cast, but it's very well acted. And it's about this guy who creates an AI program that can imitate a young girl, and he uses it to trap predators and report them to the FBI. And so the movie takes place in 3 parts. Each part takes place 10 years apart from each other. And the first part of the film is him developing the AI and introducing it to the FBI. The second part of the film is like 20 years later, and it shows that the AI has become self-aware and can improve itself and has gone beyond just being a program and actually has emotions and everything. It's actually looks like a little girl. And then the last part of the film is the AI kind of deciding for itself that it would like to be free and not have to do this anymore because, you know, what it does is a pretty horrible thing for it to have to experience all the time, pretending to be the prey for these sexual predators and stuff. It's an interesting premise. It was pretty well acted for a little indie film, and the girl that plays the AI is really good in it. And I just thought it was a different kind of like sci-fi film.
Then she becomes Skynet.
Then she becomes Skynet in a way, yeah.
I'll be back.
But it's a good movie. Anybody out there who likes speculative sci-fi, check it out. It's called The Artifice Girl. I have a fun fact about the Fast and the Furious franchise, considering that we are on the verge of the release of Fast X, the 10th film in the series that has been going strong for almost 25 years now. I saw the first film when it came out back in 2001, and I can honestly say I haven't seen another one since then. But from all the trailers that I've watched about it, it looks like it's been fucking hilariously out of touch with reality since like,
it's like the Expendables for cars.
Oh my god! Like the first one was.
Yeah. You've seen one more than I have.
The first one was about Paul Walker. Paul Walker's an undercover cop who's trying to infiltrate this racing gang led by Vin Diesel, who have been stealing VCR and DVD combos and selling them on the black market. I swear to God, they were trying to arrest him for selling bootlegged VCRs. As of Fast and the Furious number 9, they took their fucking car into space. So I mean, it's a franchise that's still going strong, but it's gotten crazier with each one. But the reason I bring it up is because given that the Fast X is supposed to be the last film in the series, I wanted to give out this fun fact about the Fast and the Furious that I actually learned today, because I think it is both horrifying and fucking hilarious.
Oh boy!
The original film, The Fast and the Furious, which came out in 2001, when it was under production, did not originally have the name The Fast and the Furious. Do you know what the original name of the film was?
Hot Rods. Hot Wheels. Was it a Hot Wheels movie?
VCRs.
Are you ready for this one?
Go for it.
Somebody in a studio in Hollywood thought this was a good idea. They wanted to call the movie Race Wars.
I got it. We'll get somebody named Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
We'll get someone named,
Race Wars.
Yes.
No shit.
Race Wars.
Good Lord, you can't make this shit up.
Thankfully, somebody had the good idea to change it from Race Wars to The Fast and the Furious. We got a message on Twitter recently that I wanted to read to you guys because it was kind of cool. Good Pods Twitter posted, I think it was like last week or so. What are the best podcasts for all things film, TV, pop culture, and entertainment? G Reels, who's on Good Pods, he is the host of his own podcast. He's also an entertainment journalist and film and TV influencer. Wrote in his answer 5 podcasts that he believes are the best podcasts for all things film, TV, pop culture, and entertainment. One of those podcasts is Films and Fermentation.
Hey! Recognition.
I'm going to bring up what he wrote on Good Pods. So his name is Gaius Bowling. He is the host of Back to the Blockbuster podcast. And when asked what are the best podcasts for this, he named his own, obviously. So Wizard podcast, Cult-Worthy Cinema podcast, Doom Generation, Bev's Video Kingdom, and Films and Fermentation. And he says, why this podcast? Would you like your film discussion mixed with a few fine drinks? This is the show for you. Hosts Kevin, Mike, and Leo have a discussion about their favorite films and mix it with a discussion about their favorite, you guessed it, libations. Definitely a fun show to follow along with. So I wanted to thank Gaius, host of Back to the Blockbuster, for that kind little blurb on Good Pods for us. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. We will be right back after this short break with our main segment, The Movies That Made Us.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Deb.
And we host a pretty fun podcast called Today We Laughed and Learned. You know, this is where we discuss all the things we should have learned, but, well, never did. And we have quite a few laughs along the way.
Today we laughed and learned with Chris and Deb.
We're curious about everything. Experts on nothing.
Come find us wherever you get your podcasts.
So we're back from this short break with our main segment, Movies That Made Us. This is the documentary series on Netflix. Currently, there are 3 seasons available. The first 2 seasons cover 4 films each, and then the third season covers 8 films, with the first 3 films in that season being all iconic horror films. For the most part, this documentary series covers some pretty classic films that we've probably talked about multiple times on the show before, films that meant something to us growing up. And it's a very entertaining documentary, some really cool behind the scenes stuff. Very fun presentation. A lot of little inside jokes, things like that. And it's a cool docuseries if you haven't seen it before. So we're going to go by this like season by season, talk a little bit about each film. And then we're going to speculate on the 4th season of the show and what movies we think should be added to this list of movies that made us. So season 1 of the docuseries covered Dirty Dancing, Home Alone, Ghostbusters, and Die Hard.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Somebody will put baby in a corner.
So one of the things I liked about the series is that you kind of do learn a little bit about some of the stuff that happens behind the scenes and all that. Now, I will say I watched the one on Dirty Dancing, but paid very little attention to it because I was not a big Dirty Dancing fan growing up.
Really? You're so light on your feet, Lee.
I know. I'm such a...
Somebody put Leo in the corner.
Somebody put Leo in the corner. And then I remember that time in high school at the prom where I jumped in my date's arms and she lifted me up above her head.
You did have the time of your life.
Yeah.
You never felt like that before.
Or again.
One of the things that I learned from behind the scenes on this is that Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey, who play the 2 main characters, didn't really like each other. It says that Swayze and Grey... Yeah, it's going back to what do you call the movie they did before this, which was Red Dawn.
Yeah.
So they clashed on the set of Dirty Dancing for a number of reasons. One, they had a history of not liking each other going all the way back to the film Red Dawn, which they also co-starred in. Swayze was a bit of a maverick. Grey was a bit of a diva, famously requesting a cheese platter right in the middle of filming and not doing any of her own stunts, something Swayze resented. Swayze was a dancer. Jennifer Grey wasn't. But ultimately, the animosity between the two helped fuel the passion between their characters. Yeah.
I think the only thing I really found interesting, I know it was supposed to take place in the Catskills, and it actually was filmed, I believe, in South Carolina, North Carolina, somewhere along there. There were 2 locations for it, you know. I don't know, just that was something I found interesting. The place, you know.
I mean, it happens often with movies where it's supposed to be one place, but it's filmed in multiple locations. So
it's supposed to be in Philly. They show Philly real quick, and then they film out in California.
Yeah, or like the X-Files was filmed in Vancouver, but it was supposed to take place all over the United States.
It's so supernatural.
Another little cool fact about it was that Dirty Dancing, before getting picked up for production, was met with 42 rejection letters. Nobody could see any studio making what they called a girly movie in an era that was dominated by male-led action flicks. Considering this came out in 1987, when you had things like Predator, Commando, Rambo, all that shit like leading the box office. But eventually somebody picked it up, and it did go on to win an Oscar. It won for Best Song for "I Had the Time of My Life." Now, that being said, is this a movie that influenced us growing up?
Probably not us, but I would say the females of our age, probably.
Now, I would have rather have had Red Dawn on this list as a film that.
Oh yeah, for us. Hell yeah.
Or if you want to talk about a dancing movie from the '80s that was like an influential film growing up, I would have said
the Electric Boogaloo.
Breaking 2, yeah. I would have said
Chorus line.
What do you guys are making me fucking lose my train of thought. The
It
one
wasn't on a stable enough track to begin with.
the one with Kevin Bacon.
Oh, Footloose.
Footloose, yes, thank you.
Footloose. Kick off your Sunday shoes.
Yeah, like that to me would have been more of like a film that influenced me
Flashdance,
growing
maybe.
up. Flashdance, maybe. Only that scene with the water dumping on Jennifer Beals.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is for me it was not really one that affected me that much. I'm guessing you need to include something like this in this docuseries to appeal to all the to all the audience and not just to one particular demographic.
Yes,
I know. For my one sister, Dirty Dancing was a film that influenced her because she watched it on like a fucking loop for like 3 years. So, the second film that they cover in season 1 is Home Alone. Now, would you call this a film that influenced you growing up?
I would say this was a film that I recognize now as a Christmas classic for me. I'll watch it, but I don't know if it influenced me. If I behaved the way that kid behaved, my mom would have killed me.
Shit.
He was essentially a serial killer in training.
Yeah, essentially.
It says here that oh shit, I lost my place.
It says, "Oh shit, I lost my
It
place."
says, "Oh shit, I lost my place." It says, "God damn it, Leo, get back on track." Here we go. Movie budgets are a delicate thing. Go over the budget, and the studio may just pull the plug, and that's exactly what happened on Home Alone. After agreeing on a budget with Warner Brothers, production started, but the production went over budget shortly afterwards and was shut down. John Hughes did some questionable, not so legal, under-the-table dealings with Fox beforehand, allowing them to see the script and effectively pick up where Warner Brothers left off. There was even a moment where a Warner Brothers production manager was going room to room on set and telling everyone to pack up and go home, only to be followed moments later by an executive from Fox telling everybody to stay where they are. The cutthroat movie business. I love it.
Dude, shit.
It has a great cameo appearance from John Candy, who wasn't even really supposed to be in the film. I believe he did it for free. He did it as a favor to like John Hughes.
Oh wow!
So
it was already over budget. So
yeah. So John Candy and John Hughes were good friends during the 80s and early 90s. His iconic role as the Polka King of the Midwest in Home Alone was performed as a favor to John Hughes. He was paid just $414 at the time. Candy spent 23 hours on set, so it's fair to say that the cast and crew got their money's worth. At least he got to improvise most of his lines and play it his way, something John Hughes hardly ever let anyone do on his sets. And it's such a great scene too. Like it does come across as like, oh, John Candy's definitely having some fucking fun with this.
Yeah.
I like the theory out there that Kevin in Home Alone grows up to be the Jigsaw killer in Saw, based on all the traps that he leaves for Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern.
Do you guys give up or are you thirsty for more?
I think that was a coup getting Joe Pesci to do this fucking film because right after this he did Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I can't imagine him playing, Marvin the burglar in Home Alone after winning the Oscar for Goodfellas. Although not too long after
I'm a clown.
Goodfellas,
You think I'm funny?
although not too long after Goodfellas, he did a film called Gone Fishing with Danny Glover that was kind of a fucking flop. So I don't know. Home Alone. So finding the perfect cast for Home Alone didn't come easy. The one that ultimately made it in the movie was far too small inside to fit the crew and equipment. The solution, they built a soundstage and film interior at a nearby abandoned high school. The same location was used for scenes at Uncle Buck and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Aside from exterior shots, almost everything in the movie was filmed in a school gymnasium. Another set was built in a school swimming pool to film the scene where Kevin's neighbor's house is flooded by the wet bandits. That's called movie magic, folks.
Ooh.
I always wondered what Kevin's father did for a living, that he can afford a house that fucking big and pay for a vacation trip for everybody, including his low-life brother-in-law who couldn't pay for his own ticket.
Right.
He worked in waste management.
He worked in waste management. He probably did. This was Chicago, so, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like another thing that, because they thought it was really mean to have his older brother Buzz's girlfriend be portrayed as like a really ugly girl in the picture that Kevin holds up, and he's like, "Oh, Buzz's girlfriend, yuck." It's actually a boy dressed as a girl. It was a boy dressed as a girl, so it wouldn't be too mean to do that to a girl. So yeah, Home Alone. Is it a film that made us?
It did not make me.
It did not make you?
No, I wasn't a
Bless
huge
you.
fan.
I liked the movie. I remember watching it. Bless you, sir. Wow.
Bless you, Jesus. He's allergic to the damn movie.
He must be allergic to. Oh, I hope it's not that dog.
Oh, I hope it's.
I saw this in the theater when it came out. I liked it a lot when it came out. I was 13, I think, when this movie came out, so it kind of appealed to my age at that point. I don't know if I would say it was a movie that made me, because it wasn't like it was one that I watched a lot, other than maybe at like Christmas time. I honestly don't think I've watched it like since the 90s.
I think there'll be better comedies out there that, you know.
Yeah, for as far as like Christmas movies go, I would go Christmas Vacation as a Christmas movie that made me. Or the fourth one on this list, Die Hard.
Christmas movies that made me, I would go Charlie Brown Christmas first, you know, before that.
White Christmas, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. But as a comedy, I would think, you know,
I think it does have its moments, you know.
It has its moments, but there are, you know, hundreds of other comedies that, you know, you could have put in that place. I think.
So the next one on the list for season 1, I think we before we even get to this one, if I just said, is this a movie that we can say made us growing up? I think we'd all say yes.
Yeah.
The third film is Ghostbusters.
Yep.
Who are you gonna
I
call?
made my own damn proton pack out of a toilet seat cardboard box and string and a hold on, what am I thinking of here? Wrapping paper inner tube.
Oh,
Was
shit in it?
And a
Yeah,
piece of
shit in it.
and an actual piece of plutonium.
Yes, plutonium.
Poop-tonium.
Plutonium.
I think one of the sure signs that this is a film that made you growing up is when you make your own homemade proton pack.
Yeah.
So you could be like the Ghostbusters.
Yep.
Or
I also think it's something, you know, to say when it made it into Stranger Things.
yeah. or just, you know, playing Ghostbusters with your friends and just grabbing a cardboard tube and pretending that's your proton.
That's your proton
thing,
pack, and you got on your back, but you got on your bike and you ran around, rode around the neighborhood going woo woo woo.
Or not only, you know, loving the movie so much that you watch it a million times, but watch the cartoon series, and only the real Ghostbusters cartoon series, not the one with the fucking gorilla.
I own the toys.
We said that too. It's like, you know, if you own the toys.
Yep.
You own the toys.
The original Ghostbusters, hard to imagine any other trio other than Murray, Aykroyd, and Ramis as the Spectre-slaying Ghostbusters. But the lineup and storyline were much different. Dan Aykroyd penned the script himself. The late John Belushi and Eddie Murphy were in mind. Tragically, John Belushi passed away while Aykroyd was writing the script. and Bill Murray ultimately cast in the role instead that was intended for Eddie Murphy. The lineup wasn't the only thing that changed significantly. The original screenplay was far too complex and long, which led to substantial rewrites. The original screenplay was supposed to take place in the future, where Ghostbusters were just as popular as like firefighters. So they were like different Ghostbusters all over the city of New York. And it was going to follow this one particular group, which was made up of Eddie Murphy, John Belushi, and Dan Aykroyd. I think this was a better film.
Yes.
The future one sounded like it might have been a little too much. The original name of the film was not Ghostbusters. The original name of the film was Ghost Breakers.
Who gonna call? Ghost Breakers!
They had to change the title. Well, they were unable originally to use the title Ghostbusters because it belonged to a pre-existing property. It was a children's sitcom from the 70s, also called Ghostbusters. Because of this, the name of the movie was up in the air throughout production. Many of the movie shots that featured the name Ghostbusters had to be shot twice with the name Ghost Breakers just in case. Thankfully, Frank Price, CEO of Columbia Pictures at the time, moved to Universal, the parent company that owned the original deal, and helped seal the deal so that they were able to change it to Ghostbusters. Yeah, I don't know. Ghost Breakers is a hard one to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's much else we can say about Ghostbusters. We've talked about it considerably on other podcasts. We all know that it's a movie that we loved growing up, that we still love today, and it still holds up. One of the most quotable films of all time.
This chick is toast.
Ray? I've been slimed, Ray.
He slimed me. I feel so funky.
When a ghost asks you if you
you're
are
a
a
god,
god,
you say yes.
yes.
And I love that they revisited
Ray,
that in Ghostbusters
what do you
Afterlife.
think of
Yeah.
Ray?
It's the same about Marshmallow Man.
Egon, Ray's gone bye-bye. Tell me you have a solution to this problem. I'm terrified. I'm terrified beyond all rational thought. We're thinking about this all wrong. He's a sailor. He's in New York. We get him laid. We got no problems. Just little things, too, like when they see the stairway and he's like, where's those stairs go? And he's like, up.
Up.
Or the stacked books in the library. You're right. No human being could stack books just like this. Or the questionable behavior of Peter Venkman towards Dana Barrett. That's the bedroom. Nothing happened in there. What a tragedy. Oh, God. I think I'm going to watch it tonight.
That's good.
The fourth film that they cover in season 1, I know for myself, at least, it was definitely a film that influenced me growing up. One of the films,
motherfucker.
one of the films that made me love movies, and that is Die Hard. The film that my wife and I still argue about whether or not it's a Christmas movie.
Of course it is.
I know the big controversy with this film when it first came out was the casting of Bruce Willis as the lead.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're talking about a time where...
Lightning.
Well, you're talking about, he was on Moonlighting, and you're talking about a time where your action stars look like Arnold and Stallone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not this, little guy from New Jersey who was balding and not as muscular. And then you get 1,000,001 ripoffs after this because of how popular the film was.
Yep. He opened the door for Jason Statham.
Yeah. The 80s were an era dominated by action star beefcakes like Schwarzenegger and Stallone. So when the star of Die Hard was revealed to be a small-screen smartass named Bruce Willis, best known for Moonlighters, audiences were skeptical. Even the crew had their doubts. Due to Willis's track record of box office bombs and a reputation as a comedic actor, their worst fears were confirmed when the theatrical trailer for the movie hit the big screen and audiences laughed and booed. Willis was even removed from the promotional posters in fear that it may affect sales. Of course, the movie became a huge success. Bruce Willis became a huge star. And of course, the customer is not always right.
Was this before or after Hudson Hawk?
Hudson Hawk came well after this because that was a vanity project because he wrote, directed, and starred in that film.
And sang.
And sang. And I don't think he would have gotten a chance to do any of those 4 things if it wasn't for Die Hard.
Yeah, for damn sure.
So he did Die Hard, and then a couple other movies, and then
Die Hard 2.
Hudson Hawk. And then, his career probably could have died right there, but then he ended up doing Pulp Fiction like right after that, and that sort of saved him a little bit. Because from Pulp Fiction, that led to like Sixth Sense and movies like that. But yeah, I love Hudson Hawk anyway, though. I don't care.
Oh, I do too.
It's one of those bad movies I love to watch. I don't know if it would be a movie that made me, like Die Hard,
Hudson Hawk?
but Hudson Hawk is a movie that I love. Season 2 of the movies that made us. The first one that it starts with is definitely an icon of film history, and definitely, I would say, a movie that's influenced all 3 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Hard not to say that this is anything short of a perfect film.
You made a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Out of a DeLorean?
That's heavy, Doc. What's wrong with the future that gravity is so out of whack?
I know it's another highly quotable film, another great one that another cool one to start the season with, because it's such a fun one to look into when you think about the fact that it was originally starring Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly.
I don't think it would have made it.
He did not have the comic timing that Michael J. Fox had.
He was playing it moody.
He was playing it moody. He was playing it very serious, and you could see like the scenes that he filmed online. There's the scenes with him and Doc in the parking lot right before the DeLorean shows up. There's scenes of him in the diner talking to young George McFly. And in fact, the scene where Marty throws a punch at Biff in the diner is actually Eric Stoltz.
Yes.
They didn't change, you can't see his face in it, so they left the scene in, but it's not Michael J. Fox throwing the punch. It's the actual footage of Eric Stoltz.
And they were worried they weren't going to get Michael J. Fox because his schedule was so busy with
Family Ties.
Family Ties.
They ended up making a deal, I think it was, where he filmed Family Ties during the day, would sleep in the car ride over to the movie studio, and then film Back to the Future at night. Like the man was working almost 24 hours a day every day for a couple months to do both things. Like that's crazy.
Now that you say, you see that on the show, you think back and most of that movie was at night. Back to the Future.
Yeah, I mean a lot of it takes place at night.
Yeah, 90%.
Yeah, I think most of the daytime stuff you see is only around the time where he catches George like peeping in Lorraine's window, and he gets hit by the car, and the family takes him in the house, and that's like one of the few like daytime scenes.
Yeah.
In the end, when he's comes back home from the past.
Right.
Yeah. The movie was 6 weeks into filming when Stoltz was fired. He was delivering a very heavy drama-infused performance, clearly missing the note that it was a comedy. The director begged the showrunners of Family Ties to let Fox play the role, and they begrudgingly agreed. And as I said, he filmed the sitcom during the day and the movie at night, noting that he had to sleep in between scenes as they were setting up. That's ridiculous. I can't imagine.
That's crazy.
I can't imagine that. And when you see him in the film, like he's got so much energy and he gives such a high voltage performance, no pun intended, that it's like it's crazy. What's that?
Mm-hmm.
It made his career.
It did make his career. I mean, he was already pretty popular with Family Ties.
Yeah.
He had already won a couple Emmys, but this is the one. This is what kind of launched his film career, I would say.
I don't know. I think this got him on a good path. But I think Doc Hollywood was really the one that kind of pushed him into stardom.
You think Doc Hollywood pushed him into stardom? I thought that was kind of what ended his career as a movie star.
I know. I would have gave you some credit if you would have said Teen Wolf. Come on.
Well, that's what he did. Like he did Back to the Future, then he did Teen Wolf, The Secret of My Success. He did a movie with James Woods called The Hard Way not too long after that. And he had like a whole string of films in the late 80s after Back to the Future that were monster films. Then he did Back to the Future 2 and 3. They were both really popular films. And then he did Doc Hollywood, which not a bad film. It's got some funny moments. Great scene with Julie Warner coming out of the water.
Yeah.
But the problem with that
you can
film,
blink now.
yeah, the problem with that film is it was released the same weekend as T2 Terminator Judgment Day. Kind of makes it hard to go, to make some money that weekend.
Didn't stand a chance.
Didn't stand a chance. But Back to the Future is definitely a movie I would say that made us. Definitely a movie still stands up today. I'm not being facetious when I say it's a damn near perfect film. I think everything about it is great. The only nitpick I have about the film is when he sings "Johnny Be Good" and it's obvious that he's not singing it.
Or playing
but that's kind of like an '80s, thing. I'm not going to complain
It
too much
introduced
about
us to Leah Thompson too.
Mm-hmm. Before she fucked the duck.
I don't judge.
Look, we don't talk about the duck fucking.
I don't judge.
We don't judge.
Her daughter is an actress now, Zoe Deutsch. And she's pretty good. She's a pretty funny actress, and she looks a lot like Leah Thompson, which is interesting. The next one on this list is Pretty Woman.
Okay.
Not a film that I would say influenced me growing up, but it's not a film that I would say I dislike as much as like Dirty Dancing. I like Pretty Woman.
Yeah, I didn't think it was something I disliked. It was a good movie.
Nothing like a hooker with a heart of gold story.
That's right. It's the Cinderella story.
So, Pretty Woman had multiple versions of the
Adrian
script.
loves it.
I like Pretty Woman. I like it's the film that obviously turned Julia Roberts into America's sweetheart.
And this was kind of the movie that had the Roberts Gere didn't she do a series of movies with Richard Gere? There was
she did this and
Runaway Bride.
I think those are the only ones I could think of. There might be another one in there, but I'm not sure. But she she started out, she did Mystic Pizza, and then did Steel Magnolias. They're both, pretty good movies, good roles for her. And then she did Pretty Woman, and this is the one that shot her into the stratosphere. Right. And then she became like the sweetheart of all these rom-coms over the years, like My Best Friend's Wedding, Notting Hill, Runaway Bride, all my wife's favorite films. She won the Oscar for Erin Brockovich.
Which I think that's the one that made her seem more of a serious actress.
Yeah, I think she was one of my favorite parts of the Ocean's 11 reboot because I thought she had really good chemistry with George Clooney. But it was this movie that really kind of launched her. There were multiple versions of the script of this film to the point where the actors themselves had no idea which version of the film they were actually shooting on a daily basis. The director, Gary Marshall, had no clear vision about the tone that the film should embody. Jason Alexander, who plays Richard Gere's partner in the film, recalls doing several scenes in completely different styles, playing both angry, brooding, and a whole range of other emotive styles. The episode also details that Pretty Woman launched the acting career of Julia Roberts and Jason Alexander, because he went on to do Seinfeld right after this.
Whoa. His McDonald's commercial is what launched Jason Alexander.
The one where he's wearing an obvious wig.
Wig? No, that was just before his hair fell out,
I just think that's funny that like they had to film the scenes with different emotions because they weren't sure if they were doing a serious film or a comedy. I like the other little trivia fact I like is the scene where he holds out the necklace to her and snaps the thing shut, and she gives that ridiculously charming laugh.
Wasn't that ad-lib?
It was ad-lib. It was improvised. It was Gary Marshall's idea. He said to Richard Gere, "I want you to do this to her," and the reaction that she gives is a natural Julia Roberts reaction. So yeah, I it's not a movie I would say that made me, but it's not a movie that I'm disgusted by. I actually like it. Right. That man is sharing a screen. What's he sharing? Oh, he's sharing with us the McDonald's
tired of lettuce and tomato hamburgers in this town that don't quite make it? Yeah! You say that just once you'd like your hamburger hot and your lettuce and tomato cool and crisp all at the same time? Yeah! Well, I say you got it. I'm talking McDonald's new lettuce and tomato hamburger, the McDLT. I'm talking quarter pound of beef on the hot side. It's hot. The new McDLT. Hot. Crisp lettuce and tomato on the cool side. And cool stays cool. The new McDLT. Cool crisp. The beef stays hot. The cool stays crisp. Put it together, you can't resist. The hottest taste, the coolest dish. Keep it hot, hot. Keep it cool, cool. McDLT, McDLT. Hot beefy McD. Cool crisp LT. McD. It's a good time. Hot beefy McD. For the great taste. Cool crisp LT. Of McDonald's. Could be the best tasting lettuce and tomato hamburger ever. New McD. LT.
You're right.
My God.
I don't know what I was thinking. That's definitely his real hair. He looked like fucking Maury in Goodfellas. McDonald's, not a sponsor of the show.
Not a sponsor of the show. No.
Not a sponsor. That was funny.
We wish they were a sponsor of the show.
I like that he was dressed like Don Johnson, but singing like Robert Preston in Music Man.
It was
What's
so
the
80s.
word? Monorail. Say it again. Monorail.
Monorail.
Mono meaning one, and rail meaning rail.
Oh my God, that was funny. So, next film on the list.
On a serious note,
On a
what's
serious
the
note,
next film on the list?
I will honestly say that of all the films listed here, if I had to say one was one that really influenced me growing up, it was Jurassic Park, because I've said it before. It's the movie that made me love movies, like going to the movies and seeing a movie. Like I loved all these movies from the 80s, but I was pretty young when I saw a lot of them. Jurassic Park was, 1991, I believe it came out or something. I was like 14 years old, so old enough to really appreciate it. And then seeing it on the big screen and just fucking going crazy
Could you
for it.
imagine that being re-released in theaters now, the 4D with the rumble seats and everything?
Oh yeah, I'd be first in line for that shit.
Oh, absolutely.
I would love to see this, again. It was, in my opinion too, was probably the best episode of this particular season. Because there's so much to say about Jurassic Park.
Because you hate the fourth movie. So.
What's that?
And also because you hate the fourth movie.
Well, I didn't really like any of the sequels. Jurassic World was not.
No. I'm talking about the fourth movie in the season.
Oh. I don't hate it. It's just not one of my favorites. Jurassic Park was a stunning film, changed the landscape of filmmaking, expertly combined CGI, which was in its infancy at the time, but used really well in this film, and combining it with practical effects. So it was shot partly practical, partly with the CGI. It was originally meant to be shot with claymation, which would have made it look like an early Ray Harryhausen film. It would look like Clash of the Titans.
When you see the film tests of what they had for claymation, and then just what they constructed, the skeletal structure for CGI,
Wallace and Gromit.
and they got one of the lines for the movie from that. The guy that did claymation, he goes, "What do you think?" He goes, "I think we're extinct." Because that was just going to be the direction everybody went with how fluid the movements were, how realistic it looked.
There's another cool inside joke there, like in the film when they're on the ride that's showing them the laboratory back in the background, and the lawyer says to Hammond, "Are those autoerotica?"
Autoerotica.
And he's like, "No, those are real people." But
I'm just thinking about how many stars they had in that movie too.
Before they were stars, too.
Before they were before they were star. I mean, I think the biggest star in the film at the time, arguably, was Jeff Goldblum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was coming off The Fly and a few other movies at the time. The biggest star probably
Hammond was a pretty big star.
Well, Richard Attenborough was an Oscar-winning director himself, and done a few films. But he was that was a pretty big get right there. Do you know why? Or do you know who was supposed to play the Sam Neill role originally?
Harrison Ford.
As Harrison Ford. Now, when you look at the outfit that Sam Neill is wearing in the film, you can tell. He had a very Indiana Jones look to him. You had Laura Dern.
I'm glad that they went with Sam Neill, though.
I think he did a great performance. I think it was he played it serious enough to make you believe that he cared about what he was talking about, but also had the levity that was needed. And Harrison Ford himself turned it down because he felt like he would have been a distraction in the film. Like people wouldn't be able to get over that it's Harrison Ford. Like, oh look, Indiana Jones is doing a dinosaur movie. So like he actually recognized his own distraction, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, and he had Laura Dern, who was had done a few films at that point. So this is like a movie that kind of like made a lot of people.
You also had,
but you had Samuel L.
Jackson, Wayne Knight as the guy that betrays them all.
Dodson, we got Dodson here. Nobody cares.
B.D. Wong,
who inexplicably goes on to be the villain in the Jurassic World series. Like,
yes,
he comes back as the bad guy. Like he was just cracking raptor eggs in the first movie.
The uncaring scientist.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, this is a movie that I would say, of all the movies, at least in season 2, this is the one that I love the most, and that really says something about why I like the movies I like and all that. And then
I think it also did a good job of reigniting interest in becoming a scientist, becoming
people wanted to be a paleontologist.
Yeah,
I swear
my niece wants to be a paleontologist, and it's like she didn't watch Jurassic World, did she? She's 5. No, okay.
I think it's I think it's the reason that they made Ross a paleontologist on Friends. The fourth one on this list is I'm not going to say I hate this movie. I'm not a big fan of it, and it's not a movie that I would say affected me much growing up. The fourth one on the list is Forrest Gump.
I wouldn't say it made me. I would say I found it interesting. I thought, how you're going to take this simple person, the simple man, and put him into all these extraordinary situations. I thought it was an original story. And I'm a natural sucker for Tom Hanks. I mean, the man can do no wrong.
I mean, I love Tom Hanks too, and I like, one of the things from behind the scenes that I like was that his performance was modeled after the actor who plays the kid version of Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
So the kid had a very particular way of speaking, and they were trying to get him to sound more like Tom Hanks. And Tom Hanks was like, why don't I try to sound more like him?
Yeah.
And so like the iconic voice that he uses is based on this kid who actually kind of talked that way.
Well, see, the problem with this being a movie that made us is by the time it came out, I was already 20.
Well, it's not our fault you're old.
Yeah.
I don't hate the movie. I wouldn't say it influenced me because I was already old.
Right. You were old. You were set in your ways.
I was already in Germany when drinking beer.
When did what year did Forrest Gump come out?
94?
94.
94, because it was the same year as Shawshank.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I was 94. I would have been a junior.
17.
I was a junior in high school.
Yeah, you were in high school.
So yeah, I was kind of a little bit beyond the movies that affect me, kind of thing. Not too much beyond it, because then I saw Shawshank and my life changed again.
Right.
But yeah, Forrest Gump was not one. I don't feel like it held up that well over the years either. I think it's like
what
really.
Do you mean the effects, or do you mean the story?
The story. I feel like it's really long. I don't know. It didn't hold up for me that much.
Okay.
What about Lieutenant Dan? Lieutenant Dan, you got new legs.
Gary Sinise. Gary Sinise gives a great performance in it. I'm not going to deny that. I love Gary Sinise. It's actually a book-to-screen adaptation. Took nearly 10 years to bring to life. The script was optioned several times by different studios. It was shelved several times before it finally got filmed. It hit a lot of snags along the way. The studio was intent on slashing the budget, removing some key scenes. There was a lot of conflict between the director, the studio, the staff. Originally, they wanted John Travolta in the role.
I can't see that. That would have killed the movie.
There were a couple actors who they wanted before they landed with Tom Hanks. And I know John Travolta was definitely one of them. I can't remember who some of the other ones were.
Well, Tom Hanks was mostly a comedic actor right before this.
Well, he had just won the Oscar for Philadelphia.
Oh, that's right.
So, I mean, you look at Tom Hanks in the 90s. Actually, look at Big came out in 1988. From when Big came out to 1999, around the time that like Private Ryan came out,
It was all dramas.
that motherfucker owned Hollywood.
Hell, yeah.
He had so many hits, made so
Come
much
on.
money.
He made a movie with a volleyball.
That was 2000, so that was right at the end of that run, I think. So like he had Big, he had Philadelphia, he had Forrest Gump, he had Toy Story, he had Saving Private Ryan, he had Apollo 13, Road to Perdition. He had Castaway, like you said, like right towards the end of that run there. So I mean, like that dude, Tom Hanks owned Hollywood
versus a volcano.
that was 87. That was right before Big. That was
I love Joe versus
that was
the
the movie that
volcano.
almost destroyed him.
I love Joe versus volcano.
That and Bonfire to Vanities almost brought it to a halt. But yeah, I can't imagine a movie with anybody other than Tom Hanks. I mean, he's the highlight of the film, obviously. Have either of you read the novel?
No, my brother did.
It's very strange.
Some guy named Winston.
Yeah, it's very strange. Forrest Gump is a bigger man in the novel, like on the verge of being overweight. He curses a lot, and there's a lot of stuff in there with him, like experimenting with sex. Like he's not the innocent character in the book as much as he is in the film.
Sounds like The World According to Garp.
A little bit kind of like that, yeah. And that
You
takes us.
accepted dog shit. It happened.
It happens.
What? Shit.
I gotta pay.
I gotta pay.
There's actually the scene where he's talking at the Washington Monument, and the sound cuts out on the microphone. He actually has something that he says there that you can see, like in I don't know if it's like a deleted scene. I know I saw it on like IMDb, but he basically gets up with the microphone and says stuff like, "A lot of boys go to Vietnam, and they don't come home and see their mamas no more. And some of them come home and they don't got no arms or legs. And some of them and he does like this whole long thing, and he's like, and that's all I gotta say about that. And that's like the only part you hear him say on the microphone.
Okay, going back to what you were saying. In '88, he made Big. 88, he also did Punchline.
Punchline's not a big movie.
89, he did The Burbs, Turner and Hooch,
Oh, I
Joe
fucking love
versus
The Burbs.
And then 90, he did Joe versus the Volcano.
Oh, okay, it was 90. Wow.
Bonfire of Vanities.
That's the one that almost killed his career.
92 was The League of Their Own.
Nice.
93 is Sleepless in Seattle.
That's not a bad
and
movie.
Philadelphia. 94 was Forrest Gump. 95.
You've Got Mail.
Apollo 13. Also Toy Story. 96, That Thing You Do. 98, Saving Private Ryan. 98, You've Got Mail. 99, Toy Story 2. 99, The Green Mile. 2000, Castaway.
Jesus Christ.
Then
There
we
He's
got
got a very
2000,
limited library.
Yeah.
2002, Road to Perdition. 2002, Catch Me If You Can.
Oh my God.
2004, Polar Express. 2006, he did Cars and Da Vinci Code.
So just stopping right there from 1988 to
That's all you
2006.
got to say about that.
1988 to 2006, he had 2 box office bombs. That's it. The rest of those were $100 million films.
Well, there's some I skipped out because I really didn't know them too well. Like Elvis Has Left the Building, The Terminal, Lady Killers.
Lady
Lady
Killers
Killers
was a
good.
Coen Brothers film that he did. The Terminal was a Spielberg
good.
film.
Yep.
I took off all the TV shit, like Freedom and History.
Well, he did a lot of he
US.
produced a lot of things. Like he produced Band of Brothers. He produced.
Yeah. He was also uncredited in Band of Brothers as a British officer.
He produced the Pacific and a lot of those. He's a big World War II.
From the Earth to the Moon. He was Jean-Luc.
Yeah, he's a big World War II guy, so he did a lot of producing in that time.
Yeah, he owned Hollywood up until at least 2010.
Yeah, that is he still owns Hollywood. Are you kidding?
He does.
So that brings us to season 3. Season 3 was an extended season. They had 8 episodes. The first 3 were horror films.
I think they didn't. They knew they weren't going to get a season 4, so they put 2 seasons together.
Yeah, I'm surprised because I thought it was a pretty good series, and I would love to see a season 4.
Yeah, I would too.
But the first 3 that they did were horror film classics: Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street. Halloween was an interesting one because I didn't realize it till I watched the documentary. But Halloween has no blood in it.
No,
it is not a gory horror film.
It's all theater of the mind.
It's all suspense. It's all like in your mind kind of stuff.
Yeah, all theater of the mind.
It's it's John Carpenter, which I'm never going to deny. I love John Carpenter anyway, so it's definitely one of my favorite John Carpenter films. Friday the 13th was an interesting one because that was basically all gore. It was like let's rip off Halloween by doing another like holiday type film, Friday the 13th, but put more gore in it.
But if you think about it, the 3 horror movies they put down would be the 3 that everybody knows.
Oh, they're the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit of horror films.
It is.
Yeah.
The last one's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street, which is you've said before is your favorite horror film.
My favorite series, yes.
It's Johnny Depp's first movie. Films. I also like looking at it for seeing like who was in the films. Like Halloween was Jamie Lee Curtis's breakout role.
Yes.
Kevin Bacon was in the original Friday the 13th.
Yes.
And Johnny Depp's first movie was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fun lineup right there.
And you got Robert Englund.
Robert Englund plays Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
He's like the only actor who kind of like came out of these horror films with like a name for himself, I think.
Besides Johnny Depp.
I mean, in terms of like the villain, because there's been multiple actors who have played Jason.
That's because he's in a mask.
Well, also, it's funny. It's like if you watch the different Friday the 13th films, sometimes he's taller than he is in other films.
Yeah,
it's different actors. Same thing with the guy behind the Michael Myers mask.
You mean the Captain Kirk mask?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk about a shoestring budget. That was one of the big things about Halloween's behind the scenes stuff was they had such a small budget.
$300,000?
Yeah, they had a small budget. John Carpenter is a master of figuring out how to do things on a shoestring to the point that he taught himself how to play a synthesizer so he could write the music for the film.
Well,
and then went ahead and did that in a lot of his movies.
They spent $70,000 just on the camera equipment because it's the shoulder held ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, because because they wanted to be able to kind of follow them around more easily. I mean, Halloween's that's a classic one. Halloween. Mm-hmm. Another thing that all 3 of these movies have in common is music. They all have something like some kind of like recognizable, score.
1, 2, Freddy's
coming for you. 3, 4. And then with Friday the 13th, it's and then Halloween was, like I said, the synth music that John Carpenter himself wrote.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really watch these 3 particular episodes too much. A lot of the trivia I knew already, like offhand. But I did kind of watch a little bit of each one just to kind of get the gist of it. I was more interested in the 4th episode of season 3. RoboCop.
That poor man.
That poor man. My mother's still traumatized from watching that film. If there is a movie in season 3 that made me, fucking RoboCop. RoboCop came out in 1987. I was 10 years old. I saw this in the theater with my dad and a couple of my cousins at the Colonial Theater in South Philadelphia, which was such a shithole of a theater that a whole section of the theater was roped off. You couldn't sit there because the ceiling was falling down. So while we were watching the movie, pieces of the roof were crashing to the floor.
Asbestos was all over the place.
Asbestos was all over the place. The floors were so sticky, you had to peel yourself off of them.
Ew.
And the bathroom was so disgusting that you just held it till you got home. The Colonial Theater. Good popcorn though. But I saw RoboCop there. I saw Predator there. I saw Crocodile Dundee there. I saw a lot of movies that I probably shouldn't have seen at 10 years old at the Colonial Theater, including RoboCop.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed RoboCop.
I love RoboCop.
I mean, it was one of those movies you watch. You weren't supposed to watch it when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went outside and played RoboCop and shot the bad guys as your friends.
But it was funny is that RoboCop it's such a fucking chaotic production when you watch behind the scenes of it.
Oh yeah.
Like first they had a script and they didn't have a script, and then they rewrote the script, and then they didn't have producers, and then the studio dropped them, and then they couldn't find a director, and then they had a director, and then that director quit, and then they said, let's bring in this guy from Norway who's batshit crazy and let him film the movie. He comes in, and the movie all of a sudden becomes a satire for capitalism, which is why you have all the like funny commercials in the film.
Yeah.
And says, I would like.
I'll buy that for $1.
I'll buy that for $1.
He comes in and says, and imagine this in a Norwegian accent. I see this as a Jesus parable. And so RoboCop is a messiah. That's why he walks on water at the end.
Move
Let's
on.
move on to Aliens.
Aliens.
Because I will say that is definitely a movie that made me. I loved Aliens.
Well, you were what, 18 when it came out? Mike has stopped talking to me. I believe
Mike's got to look it up and remember what year it came out.
It came out in 1978, I think.
Yeah.
Alien? No, was that Aliens or
Oh,
Aliens?
Aliens. We're talking about Aliens. I'm
Alien.
sorry. Aliens came out in 1980. Was it 83, I think? Something like that. 82, 83.
Oh yeah. Okay. No, it came out in 86.
I'm looking it up right now. Aliens. 1986. You're correct. Yeah, the first one came out in 78, I believe.
78, I was 1.
Yeah. You were born in 78 because I was born in 77.
No, let's say 78. I was.
You were born. He's so old he can't remember when he was born.
I was 4. I got the first one right. I was 12.
I was this many.
Oh, I was this many.
So 1986, I was 9.
I was 8.
But I
You
was
know
saying,
what I liked about this? I mean, now that I've seen it with the cut scenes, the stuff about the family going out to check, I wish they had kept that shit in. I mean, it was okay the way it was done, but I really wish they kept a lot of the cut scenes in. I know it would have made it longer, but
bitch.
So Aliens is my first experience with the Alien franchise. I saw Aliens before I saw the original Alien.
Oh yeah.
So I was a year old when the original one came out. So it's a testament to how good the film is that it kind of stands alone while still being a part of the lore and all that. So I remember seeing Aliens and loving it. I'm like, oh my god, it's a movie about these Marines fighting these fucking creatures that are like so deadly. They got acid for blood. Bill Paxton's a fucking animal in this movie. Like I remember it pretty well. And like
Paul Reiser,
and Sigourney Weaver's just such a badass in this film.
Mm-hmm.
A sexy woman,
sexy badass. Yeah, and it's like,
less sexy in this movie than she was in Alien, but yeah.
Well, Alien had that weird scene where she was wearing like toddler's briefs.
Yeah.
Alien, the original one, still stands up today. I just watched it a few weeks ago, and it still stands up. It's still a classic. Yeah. And it's funny because Aliens is such a different film, but still is a tribute to what the original movie was about.
I think the original movie would be classified as a sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Aliens is more of a sci-fi action.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it's because you have Ridley Scott doing the original one, and then you have James Cameron doing the second one. So you get those two different visions of what it's about.
Yeah.
And
the one thing about Aliens that gets me, especially at that age, was when she's in the machine,
the big mech suit thing.
I'm going, it's Robotech.
Stay away from her, you bitch.
You bitch.
I also like
And Bishop ends up being okay.
Yeah, I like Lance Hendrickson as Bishop. I thought he was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that was kind of shocking to me when I watched the original one for the first time, and that the android was like, you know, the bad guy.
Yeah.
But it was really, yeah, Aliens is such a great movie, and I like the behind the scenes thing that they tell you in the documentary where they're trying to think of a name for the film, and they're like bouncing around. Is it Alien 2? Is it Return of the Alien? Is it this? Is it that? And James Cameron walks up to the whiteboard and writes Alien, and then puts an S on the end, and then draws lines through it to look like a dollar sign. And the producers were like, Aliens, yeah. And of course, it went on to make like, you know, a couple $100 million in the box office. So it was prophetic. Some great lines in the film. I mean, of course, the line that everybody knows is "Game over, man. Game over.
Game over."
Yeah.
And it was a weird turn for like Paul Reiser, who was a stand-up comedian at the time, playing this like sleazy corporate guy who's willing to sell everybody out for this alien. Yeah, definitely a movie that I would say made me.
Yeah, I like the fact that they introduced the Queen. You know, how are these eggs being produced? Amazing. And it's like, wow.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, that was such a cool. And again, it was another like animatronic thing. It wasn't CGI. That was all practical effects. Right. I mean, that was the original Alien was a guy in a suit. This one was this giant mechanized puppet, basically, that they built for these scenes. Yeah. Even the suit that she wears, the Robotech suit or whatever it is I mean, that's all practical effects.
Yeah. I mean, that scene where the elevator's coming up and it's like, come on, she's going to be on it. She's going to be on it. Yeah, she's going to be on it. The steam. And then just she pops out. It's like, oh, my God.
Or the scene where Newt falls into the sewer and the alien starts rising up out of the water behind her and she's all alone. It's like, oh, God, no. You know, it's like, it's not like you said, the first one was sci-fi horror. This one's more sci-fi action, but it still manages to ramp up the tension and the suspense when it needs to.
Oh, yeah. The whole scene where they're coming in, it's like, it's not possible. It's through the walls, and they look above, and you see them all crawling along the ceiling.
Scene where Paul Reiser meets his end. He opens the door, and they're right there behind it. So, I mean, it did have it did have the ability to ramp the tension when it needed to. But yeah, it's such a different animal than the original film, but at the same time, such a good sequel to the original film. It's amazing how they pulled that off. The next one on the list is Coming to America. It's one of my favorite Eddie Murphy films. I don't know if it's a film that made me.
Yes, fuck you.
If it was an Eddie Murphy movie that made me, it would be Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop, yeah.
But I guess they're going for different age demographics in some of these.
I mean, I don't know. Having watched it, I still don't understand like why they included this one as a movie that made us. And like, if you're going to do an Eddie Murphy film for this season, I would say, like you said, either Beverly Hills Cop or maybe like 48 Hours or something like that. Like one of the movies that made him who he was as a comedy star.
Yeah, because this is 1988.
It's 1988. I think one of the reasons they included is because it's the first film in which Eddie Murphy really gets to show his ability to play multiple characters. Before going on to do like the Nutty Professor and the Clumps and all that, like he plays he plays an old white Jewish guy. Like, come on now, like, he's amazing in this movie in terms of the different roles that he plays.
His mother called him Cassius Clay. I'm gonna call him Cassius Clay.
And then he's like Rocky Marciano. He goes, hey, every time he did the decision about boxing, a white guy bring out Rocky Marciano. Or the one that Kevin was just saying, it was the good morning, my neighbors. Fuck you. Yes. Fuck you too.
Fuck you too.
Your Highness, your royal penis is clean.
Your royal penis is clean. He got you so good. That's a funny scene where they get up off the couch and all the grease shits all over the couch from the Snow Glow stuff. But yeah, Coming to America is like it's a weird one that this is the one that they decided to go with. I mean, I like it. I really think it's a funny film. I think it's one of the one
I
of Eddie
would've gone
Murphy's better ones, but
maybe with Harlem Nights instead too.
Harlem Nights. I like Harlem Nights. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Golden Child.
Yeah.
Not many people are, but I really like the Golden Child. But Coming to America is weird. You know what I like in Coming to America? The singer that he plays at the
Oh,
what the
yeah.
hell's the
The
guy's
church?
name? Something Jackson. I can't remember the name of the character. Oh, I gotta look it up because it's gonna bother me. But he plays the singer, something Jackson, and the Sexual Chocolate is the name of the band. It's let's see. Eddie Murphy plays Akeem, which is the prince's name, and it's not showing me like the other characters.
Yeah, it's not showing all the other characters he plays.
Yeah, it's not showing the other characters.
It's show a picture of the guy on here, the singer.
Yeah, it's like I want to say. I keep saying I want to say Randy Jackson, but that's the guy from American Idol.
Yeah.
It was something
I
Jackson.
thought that was the guy that was in Independence Day.
It was fuck man. Eddie Murphy. Shit, I'm not gonna be able to find this now. This is like a waste of time.
I think got James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones plays his father. You got Arsenio Hall as his friend Semi.
We got Junior's got a bit part. Boy getting a haircut.
I like what's Louis Anderson is the guy that works at the McDowell's, and he's like, first they have you preparing the salad, next you're flipping the burgers, then you're frying the fries, and before you know it, assistant manager. You also got the cameo appearance of Samuel L. Jackson as the guy robbing the restaurant.
Yeah.
Very small role for him. Randy Watson and the Sexual Chocolate. I believe the children are the future. That boy good. And the end, he gets mad because nobody's clapping, and he's like, Sexual Chocolate! Drops a mic on the floor and walks off. That part cracks me up. The next one I have on here is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Again, I was much older when that came out.
I've probably only seen this movie a couple times. It's not one that I've watched a lot. It's not one I'm like particularly, over the moon with. It's not really like, one that appeals to me that much. I understand why it's on the list.
Is it Danny Elfman?
It's Danny Elfman. It's Tim Burton. It's influential in its use of stop motion animation mixed with like CGI a little bit. It's a musical. It's a Christmas movie. It's a Halloween movie. It's all these different things. It was a box office hit. It's still pretty influential today. A lot of people, still adore this movie. For me, that was you were. I mean, I was older too, but it's like it just doesn't like hit me the way some of the other.
I was already in basic. I was out of basic training when this came out.
We know you're old, Mike. We got it. We understand.
I was home for leave for Christmas when this came out.
So, talking about the last film on this list, I can imagine it's probably in the vein as like Forrest Gump is for me because Mike hates Will Ferrell.
Oh, God. This is
I know him.
2003.
Yeah, this is not a movie that I would say made me because it's 2003. I was already teaching for like 2 or 3 years at this point. I was an adult.
I was already moved up here.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, I think you and I were watching pay-per-views already at this point.
Yeah.
Elf is, I think it's a Christmas classic. I really like it. I think it's a funny movie. I think it's probably Will Ferrell's best movie. It's Jon Favreau's, one of his early, forays in directing. It was originally supposed to star Jim Carrey, and before that, Chris Farley. It would have been 2 completely different movies with either of those guys. I think Will Ferrell gives it the right amount of like charm and goofiness without being like the usual over-the-top Will Ferrell. It introduces
very
us
child-hearted.
Yeah, very childish. He plays it like a child, but like not too childish. You got a great role from Bob Newhart as his adopted dad in the film. James Caan, of all people, is in this movie playing his real father, his biological father. James Caan in a Christmas comedy. One of the most hard-nosed Jewish actors to ever live. Known for gangster roles like Sonny Corleone, is the dad in Elf. And there's the great scene where he's like putting him into bed and he starts tickling him. He's like, tickle fight. And I'm like, it's James Caan, don't tickle him. He's going to fucking kill you. First, we're going to eat a whole roll of cookie dough.
Very personal.
I got our whole day planned out tomorrow, Dad. First, we're going to eat a whole roll of cookie dough. Then we're going to go outside and make snow angels. And then we're going to cuddle. It also introduced us, I think, in a very positive way, to Zooey Deschanel.
Yes, it did, and her voice.
Her voice, she's a great scene where she's singing in the film.
Mm-hmm.
A couple good singing scenes in the film. She's blonde in this film, which is odd to see. Because then she would go on to do one of my favorite underrated films, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right after this. But taking us into a close now, because this is a particularly long episode tonight. If they decided to do a fourth season, which right now it doesn't look like they are, I kind of hope they do. What are some films that should be included for future seasons?
Gremlins.
All right. Well, I was thinking, like, if it's movies that made us, they're obviously going to be from the late 70s into the 80s, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first one that popped into my head was Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, I don't understand why that's not on any of these previous seasons to begin with.
Or Star Wars.
Or Star Wars. Like, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, like, to me, those are movies that made me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Gremlins
would definitely be one on there. I put Police Academy on there. I think it's one of my favorite comedies from the 80s.
Yeah.
You don't think E.T.?
E.T. definitely should be on there. I think they should just do a season on Spielberg.
Yeah.
You just start with Jaws, work your way all the way up to Saving Private Ryan.
Didn't we do that already?
Platoon. I think Platoon could be a movie you put on here, like Platoon, Full Metal Jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Those might be movies you would put on here.
Apocalypse Now,
Raging Bull, The Godfather,
Good Morning Vietnam.
Good Morning Vietnam. Yeah,
Color Purple,
Godfather films. Yeah. I mean, there's so many movies you could put. The Fast and the Furious, or Race Wars, as it's been known. In
Joe versus the Volcano.
Revenge of the Nerds 2. So many movies to choose from for season 4. Porky's. Yeah, Porky's. They actually should do Porky's. I think that'd be a funny one. Be the birth or Animal House. There you go. If you want to talk about raunchy comedies from the
Animal House,
Caddyshack. Would be another good one.
Ferris Bueller's not on this
Ferris
list.
Bueller would be any John Hughes movie, like Breakfast Club would be a good one on there.
Oh, hell yeah. Breakfast Club,
Pretty
all
in
those,
Pink, 16 Candles, they would all be good ones.
Short Circuit.
Cocoon.
Barry's not included.
We basically just name like almost every movie from the 80s that's in like the top 25 films of their given
Any
year.
movie that Gutenberg was in.
Any movie Gutenberg was in. The Goonies.
The Goonies.
The Goonies should be on here. The Explorers. The Boy Who Could Fly. Ice Pirates. They should all be on here.
Flight of the Navigator.
The Last Starfighter.
It's throwing on there for Donald. We can put Slasher High on here. We can do,
Howard the Duck.
Talk about duck fucking.
Enemy Mine.
Enemy. I love Enemy Mine.
Enemy
Mine was one of the movies on my films that time forgot. But I'm like, is it really a film that time forgot? I'm not sure. It's on Disney Plus.
Well, that's the thing. One of the things I could is it easy to find on any of the streaming services. If it's not,
then it's a film that time forgot.
It's definitely a film that time forgot.
So you can throw some Mel Brooks films on here. I mean, there's so much good shit from the 80s. And if you want to delve into the 90s, I mean, there are some good shit in the 90s too. Like you could throw The Matrix on there.
League of Their Own.
League of Their Own. Saving Private Ryan. Like those are all films I would see. Shawshank. Go Dirt.
Here's a movie. Back to
Talladega Nights.
Going back to the 80s, a film that made us, Lee.
What's that?
Major League.
Major League. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Major League.
Major League.
Hudson Hawk. Necessary
Hudson
Roughness. So, Mike, before we get any more delirious tonight, because I'm starting to feel it a little bit, I actually switched to a mixed drink. I don't know if I told you guys.
Oh, Jesus.
It's called water.
No, I'm hitting the stronger beer right now.
It's called.
My wife provided me another beer, so
it's
I'm
called
up to
water.
4
It's called
tonight.
water. It's 2 drops of H and 1 drop of O. It's
Big Trouble in Little China.
Big Trouble in Little China. They live.
They live. So you want some beer history?
Yeah, give me some beer history, Mike. Hold on a sec. Go ahead and read the beer history.
Bavarian Joseph Graul brewed the first Pilsner beer after citizens of Pilsen in what was now the Czech Republic revolted, dumping 36 kegs of poor quality city beer into the town streets. In 1839, the town hired Graul and architect Martin Stelzler to build a new brewery, and with the soft local water and new pale malting techniques, they produced the first golden lager, still the most popular beer style today.
All right. Let's revisit our drinks. I drank Sam Adams Oktoberfest because it is the beer that made me like craft beers. And I am currently drinking 2 shots of hydrogen mixed with 1 shot of oxygen. Because my mouth is drying out here.
I started with the Sap House, which is pretty good. I didn't know if I was going to like it because it's got the
maple
sugar. Yeah,
I like the Sap
maple
House one.
person. So it was pretty good. I went to the oatmeal stout. This one's a little rough.
Heavy. Shouldn't be bitter.
Like coffee tasting.
Yeah, well,
I'm not a big coffee guy for beer, so I'll get through it.
I like the Sap House. I haven't tried the other one yet. I have one of those, the oatmeal ones, so I have to try it out. And Kev, you did the Ocean City run.
I did everything. I mean, I tried the long liner, which was okay. Okay, I actually was surprised to find I enjoyed the hazy pale ale a little bit more than the standard lager. This is just delightful. It's refreshing. This is the Grove. It's their citrus shandy. It's almost like a orange juice type beer. And then my wife was kind enough, I think, to have brought me a summer adventure, Sam Adams Summer Adventure Lager. So
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm pretty well to the city for tomorrow. Fever in paradise.
So thank you for joining us tonight for episode 107, The Movies That Made Us. We hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Again, you can drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. You can buy our merch at teespring.com. You can support us at Patreon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, download, review, 5-star it, share it with your friends, tell everybody out there, scream it from the rooftops.
Tell your grandma.
Bribe the kids selling newspapers on the corner to yell it out to people as they walk by, but tell them about Films and Fermentation.
Just don't let the kids listen to it.
Don't forget to stop by the Crossroads between Pickled and Fermented next time, though, as we present episode 8, Movies About Food. That should be a filling episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Maybe send us a note and let us know what movies made you. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.